My wife said she needed space to find herself. Then I found out her affair partner was pushing her to divorce me so they could live off my money. The moment I uncovered the truth, what happened next destroyed their entire plan. Hello, Reddit I plus here. The night she said it, she didn't even look nervous. We were sitting at the kitchen table, the same place where we once planned vacations, argued about paint colors, and celebrated promotions with cheap wine. She folded her hands, stared at the grain in the wood, and said softly, "I think I need space to find myself. Not a divorce. Not separation. Just space." Those words are dangerous. They sound gentle, reasonable, almost noble. I asked her what she meant. She said she felt lost, like she had given too much of herself to being a wife and a mother, and now she didn't know who she was anymore. She said she loved me, but needed time alone to rediscover herself. I believed her. I helped her pack. I rented her a small apartment across town and paid the first 6 months up front because she said money was tight and she wanted to start fresh. I told myself, this was what supportive husbands did. I told myself, love meant patience. For the first few weeks, she called every night. She said she missed me. She said space was helping. Then the calls slowed. Then the messages became short. Then sometimes she would not reply until the next day. That was when doubt crept in. Not jealousy, not suspicion, just a quiet voice asking why someone who needed space still posted smiling photos at restaurants I had never been to. The first crack came from someone I never expected. Her younger cousin messaged me late one night. "Hey, I'm sorry to ask this, but are you and my cousin okay?" I said we were taking space. There was a long pause before she typed again. "I saw her with someone last weekend. She said you already knew." That was the moment my stomach dropped. Not because she might be with someone else, but because she had lied about the reason she left. I did not confront her. Not yet. Instead, I did something I had never done in my life. I paid attention. I noticed she suddenly had expensive bags she could not afford. I noticed she talked about a friend who gave her advice about investments. I noticed she kept asking strange questions about my business, my savings, my retirement accounts. How is everything structured again? What would happen if something happened to you? Is the house only in your name or both of ours? At first, I thought it was curiosity. Then I checked our joint account. Small withdrawals I did not recognize. Nothing dramatic. Just enough to be invisible. That was when I hired a private investigator. I hated myself for it. I felt like a villain in my own marriage. But I needed to know whether my life was quietly being dismantled. The investigator did not take long. 3 days later, he sent me photos. Her. At a cafe. Across from a man I had never seen before. Close enough that their knees touched. Another photo. Her entering an apartment building late at night. Another. Them leaving together in the morning. Then came the part that changed everything. He sent me screenshots. Messages he had obtained through a legal data request tied to a business investigation he was already conducting on the man. The affair partner was not just some random lover. He was a financial consultant who had been sued twice for manipulating spouses into divorcing wealthy partners and funneling assets through shell accounts. And in one message, he wrote something that made my hands shake. "Once you file, push for temporary support fast. He is emotional and will agree to anything. We can set up accounts under your name. By the time he realizes, it will be too late." In another, "Do not feel guilty. You earned this. He built the wealth, but you helped him. Half is not enough. We can make it more." This was not an affair. This was a business plan. I did not confront her. Not yet. Instead, I did something far more dangerous. I pretended I still believed her. I invited her to dinner. I told her I missed her. I told her I was considering selling part of my company and moving some assets around to simplify things for the future. Her eyes lit up in a way I had not seen in years. She asked careful questions, trying not to sound eager. That night, I went home and cried. Not because she had cheated, but because I realized the woman I had loved for 12 years was planning to dismantle me with a stranger. That was when I called my lawyer. Not a divorce lawyer, a forensic financial attorney, the kind who untangles fraud. We spent hours mapping every account, every investment, every property. He told me something that changed the entire game. Because of how our assets were structured, and because my business was founded before our marriage, she would only be entitled to a fraction, unless I voluntarily moved things or signed something new, which according to the messages, was exactly what they were trying to make me do. So we created a plan, a slow one. First, I moved my liquid assets into protected trusts she could not touch. Then, I quietly removed her as a beneficiary from anything not required by law. Then I froze our joint account and replaced it with a new one only in my name, leaving just enough money so she would not notice immediately. The final piece was the most delicate. We needed proof, not just of the affair, but of the conspiracy. So I waited. I invited her over one afternoon to talk about us. I told her I was thinking about reconciliation, that maybe this space had helped me realize how much I needed her. She cried. Real tears. Or at least they looked real. Then she hesitated and said, if we do try again, I think we should make sure everything is fair between us. You know, legally. I asked what she meant. She suggested a post-nuptial agreement to protect both of us, exactly as predicted. I smiled and said I would think about it. 2 days later, she brought me a draft agreement, prepared by a lawyer I did not recognize. It shifted a massive portion of my assets into marital property. If I signed that document, I would lose more than half my life's work within months. That was when I gave everything to my attorney. And then, instead of refusing quietly, I did something she never expected. I signed it. Or at least, I signed what she thought was it. My lawyer had subtly altered several clauses, perfectly legal, perfectly binding, but with one fatal detail. Any transfer of funds or assets initiated by her without my written consent would trigger an automatic forensic audit and immediate forfeiture of spousal claims. A trap. She had no idea. Within a week, she filed for divorce. She acted calm, polite, professional. Her lawyer demanded temporary support and access to several accounts. My lawyer complied. With the accounts we had already emptied. Meanwhile, the affair partner made his move. He instructed her to transfer a large sum from one of the joint investment accounts into a new account he controlled. The moment she did, the clause activated. An automatic freeze, an audit, and a legal notification sent to 3 different agencies. Fraud, conspiracy, intent to deceive. Within 48 hours, the truth exploded. Her lawyer dropped her as a client. The consultant vanished, deleted numbers, closed accounts, left the country, and my wife called me in a panic, sobbing, asking why her accounts were frozen, why she was being investigated, why her divorce case had been suspended. I met her one last time. In the same kitchen where she had asked for space, I laid the printed messages on the table, every screenshot, every plan, every instruction. She collapsed into the chair. She did not deny it. She just whispered, he said we would be rich. I told her something I will never forget saying. You were already rich. You had a family, a home, a life. You just decided it wasn't enough. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. She received the minimum allowed by law. No support, no access, no claims. The consultant was later arrested when he tried the same scheme with someone else. She lost the apartment, then the friends who believed her. Then, quietly, she tried to come back. Not to the marriage, to the money. She said she had made a mistake, that she was manipulated, that she still loved me. I told her the truth. The moment you chose to turn love into a business, you stopped being my wife. The shock came a year later, when I learned through mutual friends that she now works 2 jobs and lives with a roommate, while the man she trusted disappeared with everything. Sometimes people ask if I regret not forgiving her, if I regret choosing strategy over emotion. Here is what I learned. Betrayal hurts. But betrayal with calculation is something else entirely. And the most dangerous lies are the ones dressed up as self-discovery. If someone asks for space, listen carefully. Because sometimes they are not trying to find themselves. They are trying to find your weaknesses.